All right, so are you ready for this? Today we're diving into music history.
Ooh, sounds fun.
It is. We're going to trace how, like, popular music from the 1950s all the way to, like, the present day reflects these deeper shifts in society.
Wow, the 1950s, that's a big jump.
It is a big jump, but we've got this research paper called Singing Signs of Social Change to guide us. And
So like the title.
yeah, it's really fascinating. And honestly, it's made me think differently about a lot of these songs that we all just kind of take for granted, you know?
Absolutely. And when you start to see those connections, it's like, wow, there's so much more to music than just like, melodies.
Right.
It's really like a historical record, almost like etched in sound, and it's revealing these philosophies and anxieties, even the hopes of different generations.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
So I got to ask,
Yeah.
do you have like a song from when you were younger
Oh, yeah.
that still gives you chills when you hear it?
Oh, so many. I mean, how can you just pick one? There's something about music that just like,
It's core.
yeah, it gets to your core.
Like right in there.
I think the paper talks about this, but I mean, just think about how music blends language and raw emotion.
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff, especially singing.
Yeah.
It's this incredible force both for expressing and shaping culture. And it's so deeply tied to like memory and personal identity.
Yeah, so let's fire up that time machine and head back to the 1950s.
Let's go.
Post-war optimism's in the air.
All right.
And rock and roll is about to like explode onto the scene.
It's such a vibrant time for music.
Totally. And the research paper makes this point that rock and roll, it wasn't just a new sound.
Yeah.
It was like this sonic rebellion
Yeah.
against the kind of more formal, buttoned up music of like previous generations.
Right. Yeah. The older generation.
Yeah, it was like this burst of youthful energy that like captured the changing mood.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I mean, who better to embody that
Elvis. Right.
than Elvis Presley?
Yeah.
Those hip swivels,
The hair.
that voice, just electrifying.
Yeah. Electrifying.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The paper links this era to Stoicism.
Stoicism. Really?
Yeah, I know. It seems like such a weird fit.
Doesn't seem very rock and roll, does it?
Not really, right?
Yeah.
But they bring up Singing in the Rain, which came out in '52,
Oh.
as like this prime example.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So how do we connect those two things?
Yeah. How do you get there?
I know.
That's an interesting link.
Yeah.
Well, so Stoicism, right, is about finding that joy in duty, in reason, facing challenges head on.
Okay.
And I think Singing in the Rain embodies that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Gene Kelly is literally dancing through a downpour,
Yeah.
choosing to find the positive even when things are tough,
Right. Yeah.
It's a really powerful message of resilience.
Right. And I think that really resonated with that generation
What absolutely.
rebuilding after the war.
For sure. Makes sense.
So it's amazing to me how a seemingly simple song and dance routine can tell us so much about that moment in time,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that snapshot.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then as we move into the 1960s, the world really starts to shift again.
Yeah.
The Vietnam War, social unrest,
Yeah.
the rise of counterculture. It's a turbulent time, and the music starts to reflect all of that.
Here comes Bob Dylan,
Oh, yeah.
the voice of this new era.
Right.
And the research draws this sharp contrast between him and Elvis.
Okay.
So Elvis, he was very polished. He rarely wrote his own songs. Dylan, he's this raw, authentic voice of protest.
Okay.
It's very different.
Yeah. A very different vibe.
Totally.
Well, I think it's interesting that Dylan's singing, it's often described as kind of, rough around the edges.
Yeah.
But that really captured the rawness of the era, I think.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to challenge the establishment, to sing about the injustices that he saw. And that resonated with so many people who were starting to question authority.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just him.
Yeah.
This was the era of the beatniks, the hippies, the civil rights movement.
Right. So much change happening.
Yeah.
All these movements looking for change. And they found a voice through music.
Yeah.
Like music became this rallying cry.
Yeah.
A way to connect with other people who felt the same way.
Yeah. Soundtrack for a revolution.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
A powerful force for social change.
Think about like protest songs.
Oh, yeah.
Like those literally gave people a soundtrack for their fight for equality and justice.
Absolutely. Music has that power.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And as we head into the 1970s, this wave of social change, it just keeps rolling, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it picks up speed.
Yeah?
Yeah, you've got the movements for civil rights, for gender equality, for environmentalism. They're gaining momentum.
Yeah.
And once again, the music evolves.
Right alongside.
Yeah, right alongside reflecting these changes.
And it's interesting, like even established bands from the previous decade, like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, they started incorporating like more socially conscious themes
Oh, yeah.
into their music.
For sure.
It wasn't just about love and heartbreak anymore.
Yeah.
They were grappling with like the world around them.
Yeah, the complexities.
Yeah.
The big issues.
Totally.
Yeah. I think the paper highlights the Bee Gees as an interesting example.
Really?
Yeah, you might not think of them as like social revolutionaries,
No, not really.
but they were subtly exploring ideas of gender identity in their music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which reflected the shifting norms of the time.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like those subtle shifts.
Yeah.
I feel like that often reveals
Oh, yeah.
the most.
More than the big, loud statements sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
What's really going on beneath the surface?
Yeah, and of course we can't talk about the 70s without mentioning the birth of hip hop and rap.
Oh, a whole new sound.
Yeah, it's a completely new sound born from these urban communities, and it's expressing this raw, poetic energy that we just hadn't heard before.
Yeah, it was fresh, it was different, and it really took off.
Yeah, and I think this emergence of hip hop and rap really just underlines this incredible diversification of music in the 70s.
Yeah, so many different voices.
Yeah.
And each genre is kind of reflecting these different parts of the social and political landscape,
Right.
offering this unique perspective on the times.
Totally.
And, with the digital revolution looming,
Yeah.
we're about to see technology play a bigger and bigger role in shaping the music of the future.
Yeah, speaking of the future, let's fast forward to the 80s.
Okay.
The era of personal computers hitting the scene and digital technology starting to seep into every corner of our lives.
Yeah, like Pac-Man and big hair and shoulder pads.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
But the research highlights that this was like this pivotal moment
Okay.
for music production. Home studios became a reality, and the use of synthesizers exploded, leading to a whole new sonic palette for musicians to play with.
It was like a whole new world of possibilities opened up.
Totally.
Yeah.
And cue the rise of new wave.
Okay.
Like bands like Devo,
Yeah.
with their clean, often sarcastic style.
Yeah.
They were both fascinated by this digital wave, but also a little freaked out by it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people were feeling that back then.
Totally.
Yeah.
But not everyone embraced the digital revolution so readily.
Right.
Punk rock, it emerges as this raw,
Oh, yeah.
aggressive counter movement.
Like a backlash.
Yeah, totally rejecting the perceived sterility and conformity of digital culture.
Like we want to keep it real.
Yeah, exactly. It was a return to the rawness, the
At heart, the soul of
Yeah.
earlier rock music.
Yeah,
A way to express discontent with this increasingly digital world.
yeah. And then there's reggae,
Oh, yeah.
offering this different kind of response to those anxieties of the time,
Okay.
with its mellow rhythms and focus on community and social justice.
Yeah, reggae's all about unity and positivity.
Yeah,
Finding peace amidst the chaos.
exactly. It provided a sense of solace, of connection amidst all these rapid changes.
Yeah, it's amazing how these diverse musical genres,
I know.
all so different in sound and message,
Yeah.
they all arose from the same cultural moment.
It's wild.
Yeah, they each offer a different lens through which we can understand.
Yeah.
The hopes, the fears, anxieties of a generation that was grappling with a world that was changing really, really fast.
Yeah, and it just highlights how music, it's never created in a vacuum.
Oh, absolutely.
It's always a product of its time.
Right, it's a reflection of what's happening in the world around it.
Yeah, and as we move into the 1990s, that connection between music and the social landscape, it becomes even more profound.
Oh, yeah, the 90s, that's a whole other chapter.
Speaking of profound shifts, who could forget the arrival of grunge music?
Oh, man. Nirvana?
Yeah, Pearl Jam, they tapped into something raw and emotional.
Yeah, it was a whole mood.
Yeah, that just captured the mood of the decade.
Totally.
And the research paper argues that grunge wasn't just about teen angst or whatever.
Okay.
It was a specific reaction
Yeah,
to the growing artificiality of the digital age.
that makes sense.
Yeah, they highlight Nirvana and how they rejected that overly polished production.
Yeah, they kept it real.
Yeah, they kept it real.
Yeah.
They wanted that raw, more authentic sound.
Yeah.
And that resonated with a generation that was yearning for something real.
Yeah, a longing for authenticity.
Yeah.
In an increasingly virtual world.
Yeah, and ironically, this yearning for authenticity happens at the same time as the rise of internet culture.
Whoa, so you have these two seemingly opposite trends happening at the same time.
I know, it's like this weird paradox.
That's fascinating.
I know, it's like Google bursts on the scene, Wikipedia makes its debut, information becomes democratized.
Yeah, information at your fingertips. The world is shrinking.
Yeah, and yet at the same time, you've got this craving for something real, something tangible.
It's like a push and pull between the digital and the analog.
Exactly.
We're drawn to the new, but we still yearn for the old.
Yeah, and as we enter the 2000s, that tension just seems to intensify.
Oh, yeah, the 2000s, the dawn of a new millennia.
A whole new world, right?
Yeah.
And we see the rise of emo culture.
Oh, yeah.
With its like intensely personal lyrics.
Yeah.
And this focus on anxiety.
Yeah.
And social isolation.
A lot of feelings.
Yeah, it's like a soundtrack.
A soundtrack for angst.
Yeah, for the millennial experience.
Yeah, totally.
Frankly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was like a way for young people to process their anxieties, those feelings of vulnerability in a world that often felt, overwhelming.
Yeah, totally. And while emo was capturing those like more introspective anxieties, rap surpasses rock as the dominant musical form with its focus on rhythm and spoken word.
Yeah, it was a game changer.
Like, huge.
Yeah, and the rise of Eminem, to global superstardom really solidified rap's place in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, his lyrics were rapid fire, unapologetically bold, and it just connected with a generation raised on digital communication,
A faster pace of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like emo and rap.
Yeah.
They were two sides of the same coin.
Interesting.
Right.
I like that.
Each reflecting different facets of that millennial experience.
Emo was the internal struggle, and rap was the outward expression.
Yeah, totally.
Two different ways of dealing with the same anxieties.
I think you just nailed it.
Yeah, and then we get to the 2010s, and things get even more complex.
Yeah, and the music evolves.
Right along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see this rise of, reality rap.
Yeah.
Gangster rap.
Lyrics often focus on social inequality, disillusionment with institutions, a focus on survival, material wealth.
Yeah, it's a much grittier sound.
It is. Yeah, and the paper makes this really chilling observation about this era.
Yeah.
The rise of authoritarianism, fake news, social division, all fueled by social media.
Whoa.
And like a decline in trust in institutions.
Yeah, it's a bleak picture.
It is.
And the music, it really reflects that.
It does.
It reflects that disillusionment.
Yeah, it's like the optimism of those earlier decades.
Yeah.
It's faded.
Yeah, replaced with this sense of despair, almost like a breakdown.
Yeah, and even funk karaoke in Brazil, with its often minimalist sound and lyrics centered on violence and this bleak outlook on life.
Right, it fits into this broader trend.
It does.
Yeah, global trend.
Yeah, it seems like we've come a long way from the stoic optimism of the 1950s.
It's a stark contrast, isn't it? The paper traces this philosophical shift.
Yeah.
Starting with stoicism in the 50s,
Yeah.
Finding joy in duty and reason. Yeah. Then we move through existentialism in the 60s and 70s, emphasizing individual freedom, meaning-making in an absurd world. And finally, we arrive at this more nihilistic outlook, where traditional values and meaning are questioned or even rejected.
Yeah.
It's a sobering observation.
It is.
And the music of these recent decades, it seems to reflect that shift.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
This journey through music history it's been quite an eye-opener.
It really is fascinating, isn't it?
I mean, who knew that something as simple as a pop song could tell us so much about the world around us?
Music is more than just entertainment. It's a reflection of our culture, our values, our fears, our hopes.
Yeah, it's like a window into the soul of humanity.
Absolutely.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, and this is just the beginning, Music is always evolving, and the music of the future, I think it's going to offer even more insights into who we are and where we're headed. Yeah. It's a constantly unfolding story, a sonic tapestry that reflects our deepest hopes, fears, and dreams.
So let's take a quick breather, and when we come back, we'll dig even deeper into these philosophical threads and explore what the future of music might hold.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. back again. And I'm still thinking about that shift from stoicism to nihilism.
I know, right?
It's pretty wild how music has mirrored these philosophical shifts, giving each era this soundtrack.
It makes you wonder what those future soundtracks are going to sound like.
Right.
You know, as we were prepping for this deep dive, one thing that really stood out to me from the paper was this idea that, like, delight is central to how music evolved.
Delight. Okay.
Yeah, so they're arguing that songs, they become like anthems.
Okay.
You know, those defining tracks for a generation because they tap into this shared sense of enjoyment.
Okay.
So it's not just about reflecting social change.
Yeah.
It's about doing it in a way that feels good.
Right, that connects with people.
Yeah, that really connects on a visceral level.
And that's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
I think the paper suggests that it's this combo of meaning and pleasure that makes music so potent. Yeah. Think about it. Like a powerful speech, it might change your mind.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make you want to get up and dance.
Right.
Music can do both.
It can.
Yeah.
But how do we explain then the popularity of like these darker genres like grunge or funk karaoke, which are often pretty bleak.
Right. Not exactly party music.
Not really. So where's the delight?
Yeah. Where's the fun and all that angst?
Yeah.
That nihilism.
Yeah.
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The paper suggests that even music expressing despair or anger can still be a source of delight.
Okay.
But in a different way.
Okay.
It can be cathartic, you know, offering this way to process those tough emotions and feel less alone in the process.
So it's like a shared release valve.
Yeah.
Like we're all in this together kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like saying, hey, I'm feeling this too.
Yeah.
But through music.
Yeah, totally.
And that shared experience, that connection.
Yeah.
That's ultimately a source of pleasure.
Okay.
Even if the emotions are negative.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're not alone.
That we're not alone in our struggles.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And our relationship with technology is another fascinating thread here.
Oh, for sure.
We went from like the raw energy of early rock and roll to the digital experimentation of new wave.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing this return to analog sounds.
It's interesting, right? Even as technology keeps advancing.
At an incredible pace.
Yeah, it's like music's mirroring this back and forth.
It is.
This dance between innovation and tradition.
Yeah.
We embrace the new, then we react against it.
Yeah.
Then we find a way to blend the two.
And what about singing itself?
Oh, good question.
With rap becoming such a dominant form of musical expression, you know, which is more focused on rhythm and spoken word.
Yeah.
Does that mean traditional singing is on its way out?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, some see rap as this natural evolution of singing, a way to express yourself more directly in this conversational style.
Yeah.
Others worry that, you know, we might lose the beauty of traditional singing.
Yeah.
I think it's still unfolding.
Yeah.
We don't really know yet.
Yeah. And I wonder if technology, especially AI, will blur those lines even further.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
You know, we're already seeing it start to happen with these digitally created sounds.
Yeah.
Vocal manipulation.
By composing music.
Yeah.
It's no longer sci-fi. It's happening.
I know. It's kind of freaky.
It's wild.
But also really exciting.
It makes you think, what will the future of singing even look like?
Yeah.
Will we all just be listening to algorithms?
Yeah.
You know, churning out tunes?
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that raw human element, that spark of creative expression will always find a way
to shine through.
Yeah, to shine through no matter how advanced the technology gets.
Yeah. Because ultimately music is about connecting with other people.
Right. On a deeper level.
I don't think an algorithm can replicate that.
I agree.
So
yeah, let's shift gears a little bit and dive into some of those philosophical threads that the paper highlights.
Okay.
You know, we were talking about Stoicism being this major undercurrent in the 1950s.
Yeah.
So for those who might need a quick refresher, could you remind us what Stoicism is all about?
Sure. Stoicism is all about virtue and reason.
Okay.
It encourages us to focus on what we can control.
Yeah.
And accept the things we can't. And it's about embracing challenges with resilience.
Right.
Finding joy in duty and service, even when things are tough.
Okay. Yeah. And the paper uses Singing in the Rain as a prime example of Stoicism in action.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
On the surface, it's just this joyful, feel-good movie.
Yeah.
But then when you dig a little deeper,
Yeah.
you see that message of resilience, of finding that silver lining,
Right.
even when things are stormy.
Yeah.
And I could totally see how that would have resonated
Absolutely.
with a generation that was rebuilding after World War II.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, then we move into the 1960s. And things start to shift towards existentialism.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that philosophical transition?
Yeah, existentialism is all about individual freedom,
Okay.
responsibility,
Yeah.
and finding meaning in a world that often feels absurd.
Yeah.
So it's less about accepting fate
Yeah.
and more about creating your own path.
Yeah, like forging your own destiny.
It's exactly defining your own values even when the world feels chaotic.
Interesting. And how does Bob Dylan fit into that?
Oh, Dylan's music, it just embodies that existential spirit
Right.
perfectly.
Yeah.
His songs are full of questioning,
Yeah.
of challenging norms, of searching for meaning amidst like the chaos of the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement. And they're rarely straightforward, you know?
Okay.
They invite the listener to interpret, to reflect, to question.
It's like music became a way to grapple with those big existential questions.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life?
Yeah.
What are my values?
What am I doing here?
How do I make sense of this world?
Exactly. And that existential angst,
Yeah.
that yearning for authenticity, for meaning, it can be heard in a lot of the music from the 60s and 70s, you know, from folk to rock to punk to the emerging sounds of hip hop.
So many different genres, all grappling with the same questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, each in their own way.
Each finding their own way to express that unease, that questioning spirit. But as we move into the latter part of the 20th century and into the 21st century, things take a darker turn.
They do.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
The paper talks about this shift towards nihilism.
Nihilism, now that's a tricky concept.
It is. I mean, it essentially rejects this idea of inherent meaning or purpose.
Okay.
It questions like traditional values, morals, suggesting that there's no objective truth. It can lead to a sense of despair and a rejection of authority.
That's almost like the opposite of...
It's like the polar opposite of...
Stoicism and existentialism.
Yeah, Stoicism seeks meaning and virtue in reason.
Yeah.
Existentialism encourages us to create our own meaning. Nihilism just says, nope, there's no meaning.
Yeah, it's a bleak outlook.
It is. It is.
And their research paper suggests that this nihilistic worldview is reflected in the music of recent decades.
Yeah, especially in genres like grunge, reality rap, funk, karaoke.
Right, where there's this sense of disillusionment and a bleak outlook on life.
Yeah, it's a pretty sobering observation.
It is.
And one that connects to the rise of technology.
Right, the internet.
The internet, social media.
Yeah.
The paper argues that this deluge of information, the constant connectivity, the erosion of traditional institutions, all of this has contributed to a sense of
fragmentation, uncertainty.
Yeah, leading some people to just kind of embrace a nihilistic worldview.
It's like the tools that were supposed to connect us have ended up making us feel
more isolated.
Yeah. Leading us to question everything.
Yeah.
The digital age, it's brought about a lot of positive changes.
It has.
But it's also brought its own set of challenges.
It has. For
and
sure.
music, it's reflecting those challenges.
Yeah.
It's processing those anxieties. And it's offering a way to connect with others who are feeling the same way.
It's like music is this mirror.
It is.
To our collective soul.
Yeah.
Reflecting both our hopes and our anxieties.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a mirror to our soul.
Yeah. And as we look to the future, one has to wonder.
Yeah.
What new soundscapes will emerge?
What new musical expressions will capture the essence
of this crazy world?
In our ever-changing world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exciting to think about.
It is. It's mind-blowing how much music has transformed alongside like society.
Yeah, it's like this constant evolution.
Yeah, from Elvis to grunge to like nihilistic rap.
Each decade has this sonic fingerprint.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is that music isn't just passively reflecting these changes, it's actively shaping the conversation.
It's participating.
It is. It's like this language that's constantly being rewritten.
And the the tools for creating that language, they've changed so much, especially in the digital age.
Oh, absolutely. The paper points out that back in the day, you needed a whole studio setup to produce a record.
All studio, yeah.
Now, anyone with a laptop
Yeah.
and a little bit of know-how can create music and share it with the world.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's democratized music creation.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's given a voice to so many artists who might not have had that opportunity before.
Yeah.
But it also creates this challenge of sifting through the sheer volume of music that's out there.
Yeah, there's so much.
How do you find those truly innovative, groundbreaking sounds?
It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
It is.
But maybe that's part of the fun, right?
It is.
Like discovering a new artist, hearing a sound that just blows your mind.
It's a thrill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows what those future sounds will be.
Right.
We've already seen technology blur the lines between genres, between the human voice and digitally created sounds. And now we've got AI stepping into the mix, composing its own music.
I know. It's fascinating.
It is. It's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, a little bit, but exciting too.
Yeah, it's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It is.
It makes you wonder, will human musicians even be needed in the future?
Will we all be listening to robots?
Yeah, basically algorithms churning out tunes.
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's a big one, but I have a feeling that raw human element, that spark of creative expression, will always find a way to shine through.
Shine through, yeah.
Yeah, no matter how advanced the technology gets.
Because at the end of the day, music is about connecting with emotions.
Exactly. It's about shared experiences, that sense of,
You're in connection.
Yeah, this is what it feels like to be human.
Yeah.
And I don't think any algorithm can truly replicate that.
No, I don't think so either.
Music, at its core, it's a form of communication.
Yeah.
And communication requires a sender and a receiver.
Right.
Both of whom bring their own unique perspective.
That's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens, yeah.
That's where meaning is created.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So even as the tools evolve, the heart of music, it's always going to be human.
Yeah, we'll always crave those songs that move us.
Yeah.
That make us feel seen, that help us navigate this complex world.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end.
Oh, already.
Of our deep dive.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. It's been quite a journey exploring how music, reflects and shapes society.
Yeah, we've traveled through time,
We've gone.
From the optimism of the 50s to the anxieties of the digital age.
We've seen it all.
And music's been there every step of the way.
Every step of the way.
What's clear is that music will continue to be this powerful force, evolving alongside us, reflecting our hopes, our fears, and our dreams.
So keep listening, keep exploring.
Keep those ears open
to the stories that music's telling us.
You never know what you might discover.
Until next time, stay curious.